Get your best seat in the house with the Game Time app. I'm trying to bring you guys the best seat in the house with the Film Room. It does make the return after this big top 10 victory over Miami. And look, this Film Room, there's not as much times that we out schemed Miami of just guys that really just outplayed Miami. I think there were a lot of examples on this Film Room of guys either playing harder or out executing or guys just not willing to be denied. I mean, there's a couple plays of Jordan Hudson just embarrassing their defensive backfield, which is really fun for me to sit back and watch. But ultimately, this SMU team went out and just out executed at such a high level that you knew from really that first touchdown over to Ymir Knight in the corner, this was going to be a fun day for this SMU team. So thanks again for the SMU staff allowing me to bring this to you guys. I texted our source earlier this week, said we owe him a golf round this offseason. So
Yes.
we will be sure to bring you guys that this offseason. But for now, sit back, get comfy, and enjoy this week's edition of the Film Room. So what a job by this offense on Saturday, keeping us in this ball game. It was close, where you just needed to get enough, and you had enough explosive plays in order to keep our offense unpredictable. And what a job by Kevin, but also Jordan Hudson had a hell of a day on Saturday. I wanted to highlight this one here. I think this is our third series. We get into a max protection look as Miami's got the linebackers walking up around the line of scrimmage. You need to just protect it for as long as possible because we're going to take a shot here. So protection's pretty good. Everybody's got their gap, doing a nice job keeping Kevin clean. But unfortunately, Miami bails as we're using 7 guys here in order to block only 5. So somebody's got to win their one-on-one battle here, and Jordan Hudson does. Runs a great route. Looks like he's breaking in, and at the commit point for this DB, he breaks it off the other way, gets some separation. Kevin just throws him a great ball, breaks the tackle, and this is a nice, almost 50-yard explosive pass here for us early in the day to get this offense rolling. So on the same drive, just a couple plays later, we go back to this max protection look, and I'm okay with it. So we are sending it to Ruben Dane Jr., who I think is going to be a premier edge rusher in the draft when he comes out. But in front of him is P.J. Williams, who's a great player in his own right. So we send the full slide that way, do a nice job. P.J. gets in front of him, uses his help at the right guard spot. Josh Bates and Savion have the nose covered. Andrew Chambly, while he was probably expecting a little bit of help from Savion because this is a 3 technique, this is a very hard block to execute. But his first step doesn't do him any favors. He pretty much picks it up and puts it back down. He's got to get in front of this number 5 and really cover him up a little bit better. He does open the gate a little bit to the inside path to the quarterback, so Kevin has to move around the pocket a little bit. But look at the job Kevin does. This is the drills that they run during training camp. Keeps his feet moving, works around the pocket, never takes his eyes off downfield, and is able to find Ymir Knight here wide open. As you run these max protection plays, you're able to take a shot. Ymir just finds a break in the defense, and the second he feels it, he looks back and is looking for the ball. Great ball placement, puts it right where he can get it, and get the Ponies on the board for 6 points. This isn't as much a scheme play as it is more of just an athletic ability of some of our guys on the edge. So getting to our regular protection stuff, I want to say they fanned this here on the right side to this edge rusher. Do a nice job getting hats on hats up front, giving Kevin enough time. Kevin does start moving around the pocket a little bit. He gets a little jumpy here, which is fine because he's able to get out in space, get some guys open. He does draw linebackers closer to him, which could open up the middle of the field. But he dumps it off to Jay Hud here, and absolutely snaps this guy's ankles. This is fun to watch because this is why we brought Jordan Hudson to SMU for plays like that. Look at the position he puts this corner in. Just breaks it off there and is able to get upfield and gets close to having another touchdown here before taking out of bounds at around the 5-yard line. And do want to give a little look here as I think that's Ymir. That might be Jalen Knight here at the top. He gets waylaid by the Miami DB. This is tough because he can't turn and block this guy until Jordan has the ball. He's getting knocked down before that. But either way, good pitch, good catch, and Jordan Hudson just does the rest. I thought the offensive line did a really nice job responding when Logan Parr was very limited on Saturday. So Savion filled in at the left guard spot. You pulled Andrew Chambly in the game at left tackle. Hadn't seen a lot of Savion at guard yet this season. You know he could do it because he played it at Oklahoma a little bit. He's been more of a tackle body for us, but we get to our counter protection that I've talked about many times here on the film room. So everybody's going to block down. Savion is going to pull around for this edge defender. This is tough because this is Ruben Dane Jr., very good player. And he really follows the hip of PJ when he comes down to collapse this pocket a little bit. Savion is still able to get hands on him, force him to be a little bit wider. Kevin does get jumpy, which is fine, with Ruben Bain so close to him. Kevin is moving around. He's scrambling, looking for work. But he just turns it upfield here and does a really nice job of finding the end zone, as Kevin was not going to be denied on Saturday, and this is another one where he just out-athletes this Miami defensive back. Turns the corner a little bit better than him, going the opposite direction of what the 200 is supposed to be, going to the right instead of the left. Just turns the corner and gets in for another 6 points for SMU. What was really fun on Saturday to watch was the high level of effort that guys were playing with. So we've got a little tunnel screen over here to the right. So the timing on this for the offensive line is going to be something along the lines of set and go. Maybe it's 1,001, 1,000 go as you see them kind of open the gate for these edge rushers to run by, and then they get out in space. So first guy out's the tackle. He's got the flat here. That's PJ. He runs flat. The guy takes a good angle. He does miss the tackle, so PJ turns up and looks for more work. Second guy out is going to be Addison Nichols. He's got the alley, so he's turning up for essentially what will be the next guy. This linebacker comes right to him, does a great job of getting on his guy. And then Josh Bates, the center, he's going to have the rat kill, which means he's going to get any guy that's going to be trying to chase down the screen from behind. That's PJ's edge rusher right here. Does a good job just getting enough of them. What I'm proud of is watch PJ here. He gets out in space. He gets on a little guy right here, right by Romello here. Drives his feet. Ends up dumping him over the pile. I know it's almost into the ball carrier, but you're watching him finish. You're also watching Savion Byrd, who's coming into the picture now on the backside, right on the hash. He gets on a guy. He just starts bullying him, man. He's playing through the echo of the whistle. That's what we've been waiting to see from this unit. It was really fun to watch that, and I think Garen Justice continues to get the best out of his guys week in and week out. To stay on topic as far as effort goes, I think the defense did an exceptional job on Saturday of running to the football. And good things happen when you run to the ball. I've talked about that many times on this show, and I've seen many examples of it. So this is one of those examples. So we're going to watch Marcellus here. He's standing in a press coverage position. He's really almost on top of the numbers. And he gets into his shuffle here. The guys are making some moves for Miami's wide receiving core. Marcellus just stops his feet just for a split second, and Miami's able to get a break on him. At this point, we're beat. Miami's got us beat here over the top. And Carson Beck does put a good throw on the money, but ultimately, Miami can't come down with it. And look who's there. You got Ahmad Moses there. He's running to the ball. He's going to make a play. Ball falls right into his hands. We're able to come up with a huge turnover that sets up SMU with great field position that ultimately ends in a score. So this was one of those early plays that kind of set the tone. It was still a little rainy. We were settling into the game a little bit. But the job that this defense has continued to put on tape as far as running to the football, playing with a high level of effort, Scott Simons has continued to improve this defense week in and week out. The atmosphere at Ford Stadium on Saturday was electric. This was one of those atmospheres that we're going to need to replicate going forward, as this is the new standard for this stadium. But ultimately, it does play a factor in this game. So Miami here, they've got third down. They're trying to get the ball off. And ultimately, the play clock keeps winding down. They're continuing to communicate. They're trying to get everybody lined up on the same page. We're showing a little exotic blitz look here with 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. They can't get it sorted, and Carson Beck starts crashing out. And ultimately, it causes one of the offensive linemen to false start. It was just a comedy of errors for the Hurricanes here on this down. And the crowd definitely had a factor of that. So it was awesome watching Carson Beck lose his composure here. This is a guy that's played in national championships. And at Ford Stadium, for him to come in and make a fool of himself was awesome to see. The cool thing about special teams is you get to watch guys that aren't every down players make an impact in the game. And we'd been certainly waiting on a game-changing return from this kickoff return unit. So here, we're going to work a double team between the guy standing on the middle of the pony, which might be Brandon Maiazono here, and I believe it is, and the guy directly to his right. So they're going to double team the R5 here from the return team's right. You count inwards, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the guy that they're going to double here. You get Trip Riordan, he's taking the L5, Stone Eby's got the L4, and then the rest of the team is on the guys that they need to be on. And ultimately, the returner finds the crease here. We do get off to the kicker, which you'd love to make the kicker miss here, but ultimately this was just blocked up really well. So everybody's on the right guys. They're in great spots. They've got great fits here, and this just creates a serious running lane for Link to find and run through. Sets SMU's offense up with a great field position, as that was one of my keys to the game, is win the field position battle. Special teams needed to make a difference, and they did on Saturday. While our kick return unit certainly made a big play, now it was Miami's turn, as their punt return unit makes a huge play here. So I'll talk a little bit about the protection here on this punt. We're deep in our own territory. It's one that you just have to get off because you know Miami is going to bring some pressure here. We end up adjusting the protection. Miami's showing an overload here on the left side, so you'll see the personal protectors bump over a little bit. Stone's the one that makes this call. It's the right call from a protection standpoint. And with our left-footed punter, he's always going to roll to his left a little bit before he gets it off. Great job on the protection. He's got plenty of space. There was no rush here that really would have affected this. You do end up kicking it to Malachi Toney, who's one of the most dangerous players in college football, even as a really young guy. He's very explosive. Made some huge plays earlier this year for the Hurricanes. But ultimately, he does make a return here. It ends up being a return all the way down inside the 10-yard line. I do want to note that there are multiple blocks in the backs here. So I don't ever want to hear a Miami fan complaining about the one-sided officiating because I really just don't believe that's true. So there's one here at the point of attack that might be questionable. That might be it just because I'm an SMU fan, call that one. But here's one that's absolutely blatant here on number 41 for Miami on the head of the Mustang. That's a blindside block. And then there's another one, 2 by the same guy in about 5 seconds. So ultimately, Miami gets to the edge here. It looks like they're going to take it for a touchdown, but I want to back this all the way up. Watch number 26 here. This is Jalen Moses here. He's a safety for us. He's a redshirt freshman. You probably haven't heard me say his name very often this year. He ends up getting blocked here. He ends up really getting held by this Miami guy. He's way away from the play here. He's getting blocked. He almost falls down. But he's on the very backside, and watch him sprint here. He keeps running. He keeps running. He's a guy that saves a touchdown here. So the play's never over. That is a huge play here for the redshirt freshman in order to save a touchdown. Miami kicked a field goal here. That was one of the differences in the ball game. Really great job to Jalen Moses getting that one done. So we're back on defense now as now we're in overtime. Miami's been driving, and it looked like they were going to get a touchdown here. They've been running the ball well all game, but they're in the shotgun. They're dropping back to pass, and they have a really nice concept here. This is one that, frankly, I thought we were beat. When you're looking at this right here, they've got a guy open in the middle of the field. Number 17, he's open. And I think Malachi Toney here coming across the middle, I think if this ball is thrown a little bit earlier, maybe he doesn't get in for a score, but he certainly gets them within the 5-yard line. Carson Beck holds on to it a little bit too long. He triple fakes and ultimately throws a little bit too late. And Ahmad was in a poor position here as Malachi Toney starts breaking across the middle. Ahmad takes a huge risk coming underneath, and it works out. So this is a great play by Ahmad. He really reads this all the way in as comes up with a huge overtime interception, denies Miami of any points in overtime, where now all SMU would need is a field goal. And just, this is one of the guys that were a preseason All-American for SMU, and he's been playing like it lately. Great job by Ahmad. 2 interceptions in this game to really ignite this defense and save this game for SMU. And of course, now offense gets the ball, and I do want to talk about the walk-off touchdown here as this offense could not run the ball in regulation. I want to say we had -2 rushing yards in regulation, but something flipped in overtime as this was the 4th consecutive run in a row to TJ Hayden as we were just walking Miami back towards the end zone. And maybe they were getting worn out at this point, but ultimately this is a really nice job. So we've essentially have inside zone here. All of the offensive line is stepping inside to try to just ram this thing in there. You hand the ball to TJ Hayden. You get a split flow from Stone Eby here. Kicks the end man out. And TJ Hayden just finds the open lane. So there's some overcommitting by Miami's safeties being so low. He walks in just absolutely untouched, which shout out to this girl over here who's already jumping up and down before he's even in the end zone. But this was a statement win for SMU. It was one that is going to be hard to be topped in the near future with a top 10 win at Ford Stadium with how this season has gone on so far. But ultimately, SMU was able to get it done because of their resiliency and their ability to fight back, not just in this game, but after last week as well. This was a total program win, like Rhett called it after the game, and just an unbelievable job top to bottom of this football team.